I want to introduce a fellow Northeasterner. She's a New Yorker, and her name is Dr. Jill Harkavy-Friedman. She's a Senior Director of Research at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Suicide or suicidal ideation has always been a concern for us and a concern for everybody in this room. We first met Dr. Harkavy in 2012 when RSDSA in the New York City CRPS community and our staff were devastated by the news of the suicide of Dr. Danielle Fraudenheim. Danielle was a talented psychologist with CRPS who was a close friend of our organization. She attended our walks, she came to our dinners, she appeared in our PT-OT video. And she had so much going for her, but yet she ended her life. And we reached out to Jill, and she came and spoke to our board of directors. And every day, as we deal with that threat, and we're hoping to team with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to produce a video for doctors, for hotline counselors, because they're taught to deal with, not taught to deal with people in pain, which is a special condition, and there's special resources out there. And so we want to do that. And also for physicians, for family members. What can you do when someone you feel is at the brink of death by suicide? So we're really pleased that she's coming. She's here today, and I would like to welcome her.
So good morning, everyone. Probably talking about depression and suicide first thing in the morning is unusual for you. I want to just take a moment to thank Brandy and Lisa and Lafayette for hosting this event. And if any of you were at the benefit yesterday, it was a great day and a very sunny day, and it seemed to be very successful. So that was terrific. I think we should give them a hand. So today, I guess Jim really explained how I came to work with this group, and it's turned out to be a really educational and heartfelt experience for me, and I'm very glad to be here. I'm going to start by saying I wish that I had a cure for the pain to give you, but I don't. So we're going to focus on how to live with the pain and what some of the consequences of pain might be, and then how to cope with those. I'd like this to be a conversation, although if it goes too long, I will have to kind of shorten things. But everything I'm going to say today is for both the person who's in pain, I can't see over the microphone, and for the person who's taking care of the person with pain. So this is really about how to live. And whether it's physical pain or emotional pain or stress, there are certain things we can do to make life easier. So, but what I understand is you're supposed to start your slide with a picture of where you're from. So this is the view from my window at work. Isn't that beautiful? I do have the best view. And I have many, many pictures because it's so beautiful. But that is actually Brooklyn. We're located in Manhattan, but we do have 64 chapters around the country and growing. And it's a wonderful organization that I actually started by getting a grant from them in 1992. And I've been working with them and only took the position there in 2011. So let's just talk about pain for a minute. So pain affects the brain. It's just the way it is. So first of all, it takes mental energy, right? Now, the worst pain I ever had, which was quite excruciating and probably not what you're experiencing, and it had an end to it, was after a foot surgery. And it was excruciating. It was worse than any other pain, surgery, childbirth, anything that ever happened. And it's very hard to think about anything else when you're in pain. And so that's part of the challenge, is to know when you can think about other things and know when you can't, and you just have to get through it, and that you will get through it. It also challenges your brain chemistry. So pain is a physical chemical response. And so everything in your brain changes. And when you have ongoing chronic pain, your brain actually changes. So we know the brain is the seat of not just your physical being, but also your emotional being and your thoughts. So when your brain chemistry changes, you can't think the same way. It affects your immune system. We know that pain is both related to and affects your ability to fight infection and to stay hearty and healthy. And it challenges your coping capacities, because everything that you're used to being able to do with ease might be a lot more difficult when you're in pain, or maybe even impossible sometimes. In addition, it interferes with your attention, your memory, and your mental control. So the other thing is that pain limits your activity, right? So some of the things, or all of the things that you used to be able to do, you may not be able to do when you have CRPS. It causes tremendous stress. That's something then, as you're talking about, you have to cope with that stress. So you have to cope with the stress of having CRPS, having pain, and then cope with the changes that come along when it comes and it goes, and the distress you feel when you have pain, and hopefully some calm that you feel when the pain subsides for a while, or lessens, I would say. It also causes biological changes, right? So you can see you may have swelling and heat and temperature. Well, stress affects your whole biology in your whole body and how your body works. The other thing is that every one of us is different, and so the way that each person experiences pain and CRPS is going to be different. So there will be some things that you all say, yes, that happened to me, and then other things that distinguish you. So everything that I'm going to talk about today, it has to be applied on an individual level. Think about who you are, what you have in your life, what you do, and your pain, and then come up with a personal plan. So, and then finally, the treatments that you might get for CRPS have biological effects and can actually lead to depression. So you need to be mindful of what you're thinking and feeling, and not just on your pain, because what you're thinking and feeling is going to affect how you actually experience pain. So whether you have CRPS or you're taking care of somebody and loving somebody who has CRPS, it has a tremendous effect on the supports and on your support network. I hope that everything I say today, by the way, you already know. So when you feel like her, as either the person with CRPS or the person who's taking care of someone, that affects your supports. So only you and your supports know the difference between how you were before and how you are now. So the first thing, and there's a book that's going out that's very helpful, and actually much of what I'm saying turns out to be in that book as well, if you get a copy of it, about managing pain, the Handbook of Managing Pain. So the first thing that everybody needs to think about and everybody forgets about are the basics. And sometimes they're disrupted in CRPS, right? So you need to make sure that you're clean, that you're eating well, that you're sleeping well, that you're exercising, and I know exercise is a big issue because of physical limitations, that you take care of your gut. It turns out your gut, your stomach, actually has to do with what's going on with immunity, so you have to take care of your health. And healthy attitude is key, or positive mental attitude. How you think about it is going to affect how you deal with it, and it's going to affect how you feel. But that also changes. Some days you feel, I can do this today, I'm going to have a great day, and sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. And so we're going to talk about developing your toolkit for managing those kinds of things. But the basics are very important, and when we're in pain, we tend to forget about the basics, right? We don't get up, we don't eat, we don't sleep, and every one of those things has an effect on your mood and on your ability to engage in life. So it's really important, even on the days when you don't feel like eating or whatever kind of exercise you can do, even if it's minimal, it's important to keep that in mind. So how many people here have a toolkit for life, for pain, for... Okay, so that means you don't have one. So That was a trick question. So what is a toolkit for life? So these are the things that are going to help you get through your everyday life. And we all should have them, but your toolkit for life when you have pain may be different from your toolkit for life when you don't have pain or you're dealing with something else. So this is for either people who are suffering with pain or caregivers or really anybody. You'll see that there's nothing here that's going to be harmful. So there are 11 things, and again, I'm going to give you these to think about. Everybody's going to weigh them differently. They're going to work for you or not work for you at different points in life. But so the first thing is get involved. Get involved with people, build a support team. And that's why people are here. CRPS is a great support network. The more people are involved with it, the more support you're going to have. And so growing this organization is very important to growing a support network. The next is, and this is so important, pace yourself. I work a lot with people with fibromyalgia, and that's one of the biggest issues. So first you have to know what you have and say, this is what I have, this is what I'm living with. But pacing yourself is very important. So if you know you're going to be going somewhere that you really want to go to, you may have to rest 2 days before and 2 days after. And as long as you know you have to do that, and if it involves other people, you're clear with them and say, look, I really want to go to this show. So I'm doing nothing today, and I'm doing nothing the day after. But I'm going to that show. That's okay. Because nobody's going to understand the limits of your ability but you. If you're a caregiver, it's important to understand that the energy, the ability, it's sapped. And many kinds of things, excuse me? Sapped. You only have a limited amount of energy, and so you have to decide where you're going to put it. The next thing is to learn, these are not in order, by the way, and that's what the last item is going to be. You have to do all these things all the time. So I'm giving you the end first. So prioritize. Maybe there are 5 things you want to do, but you're not going to get to do all 5 of them. Or you're going to do all 5, but it's going to take you 6 months to do all 5. That's okay, as long as you have a list and you're planning and prioritizing. What's the most important thing? And part of the reason that's important is because if you expend energy on something that's not that important, you're not going to have the energy for something that is important. And so it really, you know how people have to-do lists, and now they have priority, and the priority shifts as new things come on your list. So if you're doing things without thinking about what's most important, you're going to expend more energy than you have. So the next thing is to actually set goals and action plans. No matter what you feel, there can always be some goals. Some days they're very small goals. Get up, take a shower, and eat. Because people often forget to eat. Some days they're bigger goals. And also they're going to shift based on how you feel. But you also having a goal helps you to achieve it. If you wake up and you have a day where you have no goals, then what are you going to do? Probably nothing. So it's really important to set goals for yourself. And be patient. Now I'm very practical. I get lost a lot. So I always, okay, yes, I went to New Orleans instead of Lafayette. Did not go that well, but I'm here, right? Because I know myself and I need get lost time. This was a big get lost, but hey. I had a great night on Bourbon Street. Really good oysters, but I'm here. So you have to know that you're going to do whatever, you have to be patient, you have to know who you are. And then what's the first thing when I realized that Lafayette, I got on the cab line and I realized that Lafayette is 2 hours away. And I called the hotel and I said, is there a shuttle? The first thing I did, okay, take a breath. Then what am I going to do? And you know what? Within a half an hour, I had canceled my hotel. Sorry, Hilton. I had a new hotel. I had a cab driver who was going to take me where I was going to go. If I had just freaked out, which is what my son said, how did you not completely freak out? It would have taken me 3 hours, but I still would have had a hotel room. I would have canceled this, and I wouldn't have gotten to go to Bourbon Street. So the first thing to do is take a breath. Find ways to relax. And the more you learn how to relax, like you raised the issue about the anxiety that comes with an episode, your body learns how to relax. It actually takes practice. So meditation is very good for that reason. Any kind of relaxation training, mindfulness, all those things, you can actually train your body and teach it when you're starting to rev up, go to that relaxation place. And it's different for everybody. Like, I don't visualize anything. So if someone says to me, imagine you're on the beach with the waves, and I'm like, no, I am nowhere, because I don't see it. But if you said to me, feel the warmth, feel the breeze, that might work for me. So everybody has their own way, but it's important to cultivate your relaxation techniques and take a breath. Keep as fit as you can. One of the things we know is that early in the course, which of course many people don't even know they have CRPS, and they look back and say, I wish I knew because I would have done more exercise and toning, but you can only be where you are, is to try to exercise even in the smallest amount that you can do. I don't know, when I was a kid, they used to do finger exercises, whatever you can do that's going to make you, exercise is critical for your mood and your energy and your sleep. So stretching, exercise, it may be somebody who swims, somebody who's walking. I've heard all kinds of things here. Somebody can't do anything. You do the best you can. If your exercise is turning your neck, that's something. Keep a diary and track your progress. One of the reasons why this is important is because you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to get through some things, and you're going to have days when you can't do anything. And one of the things to remember, and this is related to depression and suicide as well, is if today is no good, tomorrow or the day after that is going to be better. That where I am today isn't where I will always be. Sometimes you're going to look at your diary and say, wow, I really felt awful. And then the next page you figure out what happened next. So if you don't track it, you're always going to feel when you're in a bad place that this is the worst, I've never been like this before, it's never going to get better. So a diary gives you an opportunity to look back and forward and see the shifts and the progress that you've made, and also the losses. I used to be able to do this and now I can't, but now I do this instead. Have a setback plan to fall back on. So, okay, so my setback plan happened in the taxi when I got to New Orleans, but it's helpful. If I do this, then I can do that. But if that doesn't work out, then maybe I'll do this instead. And you probably used to do that all the time before you had pain. Sometimes what happens with pain is, I'm in pain, shut down. I can't do anything. That's probably not true. Some days it is true. Some days you just have to fold it and say tomorrow's going to be better. But having a backup plan. I really want to do this. If it doesn't work out, then I'm going to do that. Because otherwise, I really want to do this. It didn't work out. Black hole. Life is terrible. So understanding that it might not work out, but it's not the end, is really important. Teamwork, and this is particularly hard because when you have so much pain, it's hard to establish a team. But I'm getting the sense that people do establish a team, whether it's this community, your family, your doctors, your therapist, whatever it is, they're part of your entourage to make it through this and have a decent life. So, and then of course the last one is do everything all the time. Don't forget any of it. You may want to post your toolkit. Yeah?
One thing that was not specifically mentioned is faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is very important to some people, less so to others, but
Right.
it can be a deal breaker, and some people still
Right. So the issue was raised about faith, which can be very important to some people, maybe not to others, but if that's what's important to you, then cultivate that. And there are many ways to cultivate and use your faith. And it's faith, spirituality, meaning in life, very important. Very important. Thank you. The other thing is, and I'm not going to talk too much about it right now because it's very individual, is, so that's sort of the life plan toolkit. Another toolkit to develop is one about how to deal with a moment of pain, like a pain crisis. What are the things that you can do? Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later when I talk about safety planning, but that's going to be more in relation to your feelings. But you can apply it as well to what you do in a crisis moment when you're in excruciating pain. Know that in advance. So if and when it comes, you at least have some options. Know that maybe none of them are going to work that day. You know, that may be true. And then other days, the first thing on your list works. So it's being ready and acknowledging what may happen, and then you'll deal with it. I said that very simply. I don't mean it off the cuff. But the more you can provide yourself with tools, the better you'll be able to do whatever it is you want to do. So now someone said to me, because I was going to talk about depression and suicide, and somebody said, oh, well, you know, it's not depression. You know, people don't get depressed. When they get suicidal, it's just the pain. And, you know, we're going to talk about that some. Most of you never had depression before you got pain. So that makes sense. You've also spent a lot of time with people telling you it's in your head. I'm guessing. I mean, that's been what I understand, that people are, anytime someone has pain, it's in your head. That's not the same as having a mood or a feeling or a prolonged feeling. So, and we know it's not, it's in the place that it hurts and in your body. So, but one of the questions is, you ought to feel at least a little bit better and a little bit happier and a little bit more positive on days when your pain is better. And if you're not feeling that way, then the question is, you know, we already talked about pain is depressing. So being sad, down, low, blue about it is normal and expected. Having a depression is something else. So if you never have moments where you feel a little bit better, a little bit lighter, it's time to ask yourself a few questions. One of them is, does anything pique your interest? Are you interested in anything? Anything that you look forward to? Does your concentration improve when you're not in pain? Because it ought to improve, and it may be not so great when you're in pain, but when you're feeling better, your concentration should improve some. How's your appetite? Are you eating more than usual? Or are you eating less than usual? How's your sleep? All right, we already know. Sleep is a problem for many people. So, but still, it could be relative. That your sleep usually gets, you maybe get another 15 minutes or another hour when you're having a better night. And if it's still lousy, how's your energy? Even if your energy is always low, it should perk up a little bit when you're in a period where you're not in so much pain. And then how's your self-esteem and sense of self-control? Because a lot of times when you're in pain, you feel like you have no control. But when you feel better, you say, okay, today I can do X, Y, and Z. And then finally, are you thinking about death or suicide? So if you're experiencing most of those things and it doesn't go away when you feel better, oops, sorry about that, then you might be also having a depression. And so this says, I feel depressed, no interest in activities, have weight loss, insomnia, and tired and think about suicide. And the doctor says, I diagnosed you with depression. So like you come in, you know you're depressed, but there's a diagnosis of depression and then there's just being down. They're not the same. And the reason why that's important is because depression can be treatable. Now, when you have CRPS, it's a little more complicated because first you have all the physical challenges and then and all your systems, as I just told you, all your systems are a little bit out of whack. and then you're on other medicines. And so you have to work with somebody who really knows and understands pain and depression. It's not going to be simple. You know, the people I work with fibromyalgia, you know, they're sensitive to every medicine. You give a teeny weeny little bit that most people wouldn't know they're on, and they have a big reaction. So it's a process of finding what's right for you. Psychotherapy is always an important part of working with your mental health. Why? Because the psychotherapist is not you, they're not your family, they're not involved, they have an objective view of what's going on. So it's also work, you know.
What's the difference between a psychotherapist and a psychiatrist?
So the question is, what's the difference between a psychotherapist and a psychiatrist? And that's a good question. The training is very different. So there are many different kinds of psychotherapists: social workers, licensed mental health professionals, psychologists. They'd go to graduate school and learn about therapy and treatment. If you're a psychiatrist, you can prescribe medication because you've gone to medical school. And so you've learned about using medication. Now, there are some psychologists in some states where there aren't many psychiatrists that they can prescribe medication with extra training.
So like I would look up in the yellow pages psychotherapist.
Right, no, you wouldn't look up the question was, can I just look up in the yellow pages psychotherapist?
I've never heard that term before. I thought it's always
It's sort of a catch-all for psychologists, social workers, marriage and family counselors, non-MD people who are trained in therapy. And if you're not sure, actually on our website we have a list of the different organizations and ways to find help, and that's www.afsp.org. What you want to do is make sure that you know someone who knows how to work with what you're experiencing. That could be pain, depression, anxiety, whatever. It takes a while to form a relationship with a clinician, so you know, it's not going to happen necessarily in the first session. And change takes a while because you're talking about changing a lifetime of the way in which you were in the world and finding ways to feel better. So it's a process of change.
Results take time to measure.
Right, results take time to measure. So if we had a magic wand or a magic pill, we'd all have it already. So, but you know, there are some things about people that keep them from taking care of themselves, either physically or in terms of their mental health. And so a big one, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this, is stigma. So with CRPS, it's not understanding the pain, not understanding why you can't do it. You look fine. Why can't you do it? Right? And the other is depression. People somehow forget that people who have depression look and sound and are just like everybody else. We're just people. Having a mental health problem doesn't make you any different from the person who doesn't have one. And by the way, 20% of the population has experienced depression at some point in their life. So this is not a rare event. The other is that stigma can prevent people from seeking treatment. Whether it's, I'm not going to go to another doctor because they're just going to tell me it's in my head, or I don't want to take medicine for depression because those are drugs. They're not drugs, they're medicines. You know, I make a distinction. Drugs are things that people take recreationally to get certain feelings. Medicines are things you take to get well. The other is that because of stigma and because of discomfort, people sometimes are misdiagnosed, which I'm gathering many of you have been misdiagnosed multiple times. I think it's 4.3 times each is the average number of doctors that somebody's seen. And so one of the reasons for not getting treatment is because you've been misdiagnosed. Another is failure to treat. You look fine, it's pain, get over it. Yeah, you're suffering, you got something, you know, go out and go to the movies, you'll feel better. Here, let me move out of the way a little bit. So there are a lot of reasons why people don't get treatment. And in addition, even when people get treatment, they tend to be undertreated. That happens both on the treating person's side, because they're not knowledgeable about the medicines, but it also happens on the person who's being treated. I don't want to take so much medicine. Yeah, they prescribe 40 milligrams, but I'm going to take 30 milligrams. Well, when you do that, you're not getting treated. I have this discussion with my husband all the time. He says, I don't want to take 2 Advil, I'm just going to take 1. So okay, you'll have half a headache. You're not going to cure it without 2. So these are some of the reasons why people don't get treatment, and I'm sure you can come up with many more. So let's say you're worried about somebody, that they seem depressed, they're not eating, they're not sleeping. How do you know when you have to worry so much that you want to make sure they get some help and some treatment? And that could be worrying about yourself or worrying about somebody that you love. So the first is, and what I'm talking about is also the issue of suicide. Now many, many people think I'd rather be dead. They maybe wish they were dead. I'm sure that people, I don't want to say everybody, but it crosses people's mind when you're in the throes of pain. I want this pain to end. So you just said it would be easier. Of course, that's the hope. We don't really know, but most people who die by suicide don't want to die. They just want the pain to end, whether it's physical or emotional pain.
Most people eventually get so hopeless that they look at it as a treatment.
So he's saying that those people get so hopeless they look at it as a treatment. That's one of the reasons to have your diary. Because just because you feel hopeless in one moment doesn't mean that the next day you're going to feel hopeless. And I've been working in the field of suicide since 1985. And I've seen a lot of people who've been in various phases. And one thing we know, and one thing we know from people who've survived attempts, is that they're glad they're there. That the next day, now there are people who aren't glad they're there, but with help and treatment, they get back to their lives. And so it's not just a hope. You actually have to take action and get help. But
Are there different phases of suicide?
yeah, she asked if there are different phases of suicide. Well, it's not, in the end, it is just do it or don't. The only thing is that sometimes you do it and fortunately you're still alive and then you get help. And so most people who make an attempt do not go on to die by suicide. So we were distinguishing between the feelings that you have and what you do about them. Okay? Yes, Jackie?
One thing that I don't see on that slide that in working with support groups that I hear a lot about is not as much that they want to get rid of the pain as much as get rid of the burden that they are causing on their life.
Okay, so the issue of burden is a very important issue. She said that what she's seen is that it's not just that people want to get rid of the pain, but they don't want to be a burden to others. Okay, so we're going to talk about the way a person who is feeling suicidal and feels like a burden, and then what's really going on. Because you may feel like a burden, and you are asking something from your family and friends who support you, and it's hard for them too. But conversation about that and working out ways to actually communicate with each other so you can have an understanding about that and an understanding about why they're helping you and how they would feel without you, you will find that even though you think you're a burden, your not being there would be a bigger burden. And so that's when people are in that suicidal state, you don't have the same breadth of view. Your thinking is different than your normal thinking. And your way of problem solving is really different. You don't see many options when you're in a suicidal state. These are just things you might see in how a person might be behaving if they're so depressed that they might take their life. Some people are kept alive by knowing that they can take their life, and that keeps them going because they feel they have control and they don't have to do it, it's their choice. So thinking about it is not the same as being suicidal or being in a suicidal state. So the first item here is really about depression, feeling depressed, feeling hopeless, feeling that you don't have any options. Other things, alcohol and substances, which substances could include painkillers, which you're taking as medicine, but they still affect your mood. When you take them, they can cause you to feel more depressed. They can also limit your ability to control impulsive behavior. We know that for people who die by suicide, 30% of them, close to 30%, have alcohol in their system at the time of their death, even if they didn't have a problem with alcohol. So it's a problem, and if you know you're at risk, your thinking may be off if you're drinking, and so it can lead you to do things that you wouldn't do when you weren't drinking. If you've seen recent impulsive behavior or risk-taking or behavior, or like it doesn't matter, that's really the point. Like, oh, I might as well do this because if I die, I die. That is not, that's of concern in someone who isn't typically like that. Obviously, if somebody's talking about suicide, we're going to talk more about what do you do if somebody's talking about suicide. That is indicative of concern, and we're going to talk about how to talk about that. Making a plan, if someone's making a plan, they're giving things away. They're saying, well, I probably won't see you in a long time. That, if you know someone's depressed and not feeling great, that's something to be of concern. And irritability, rage, and anger in a person who doesn't normally express that. So most people at some point have had fleeting thoughts of suicide or wishing they were dead. And I'm guessing that's even higher with CRPS. Some people think about it all the time. And then some people have plans and persistent thoughts about it. And then most people never act on it. Some people make a suicide attempt, they try to kill themselves, and they fortunately survive, and most often will get help and feel better, or whatever will pass. However, 38,364 people died of suicide in 2010. We only have statistics till 2010 because it takes a while to compile the numbers. So, but it's still relatively rare, right? 12.1 per 100,000. If you read the news, you'd think that people were dying by suicide. People are dying by suicide every day, but not at the numbers you would think by reading the news. It is unusual. And so if you're worried about someone or they're talking about it, take it seriously. 90% of people who die by suicide have a diagnosable and treatable mental illness. Now the problem with this is that people don't like to hear that, but it's very important because there are treatments. And so if you get help, you can feel better. And you can manage those feelings in a way to have a more, a better life, a more satisfying life, and deal with something. I mean, if you had diabetes, you wouldn't just will it away because you'll die. It's the same thing with depression. If you don't take care of it, you're at risk of dying. It's an illness. We know that chronic illness and chronic pain are increased risk factors, and that's what you're all living with. As I said, pain medications have an effect. People have multiple risk factors, a family history, maybe they've made an attempt before, they had a head injury, there are many things that come together that put someone at risk, and then there could be a trigger. Could be, this is the worst day I've ever had, I can't do it anymore. Again, that's a good reason for a diary, to take a look in those moments. So one of the things that you can do when you have is to develop a safety plan. And I think this is good for the pain also. Like, what are you going to do when your pain is really bad? So first is to identify any triggers or warning signs. What makes my pain worse? What makes it better? What makes my depression worse? What makes it better? Then the first one is to find personal ways to distract yourself. And I'm guessing many people have done that. Oh, I'll just go watch TV. I'm going to call my friend. I'm going to exercise, do a little relaxation, whatever it is that makes you feel better. If that doesn't work or feels like it's not going to work, I'm not going there. The next one is to reach out to people who can distract you. I'm really feeling lousy today. Can you come over and let's watch a movie together? things that will help you, people that will help you to feel a little bit better. The next level is, and these are, you can do any one of these, you don't have to go in order. People who can help you cope, whether that's a support person, whether it's calling the RSDA office, whether it's calling your therapist, people who actually know about how you're feeling and can help you deal with it. The next level is contacting your professional, what I call entourage. You know, some of the caregivers who might be able to advise you, help you, offer, you know, you can discuss, what should I do? I really feel like hurting myself. So, and then the last thing is your emergency contacts. Who should you call if you really don't feel in control of it? Because you will get through that moment and have better moments. And then, so if you're worried about someone, the point is ask them, talk to them. You're not going to make somebody suicidal just by asking about it. And in fact, we know that it helps people because they're not holding it in. Start by telling the person you're worried about them. These are the reasons why I'm worried. I'm worried because blah, blah, blah. And have a conversation with it. If they're seeing a therapist, have them contact the therapist. If they won't, you contact them. Don't try to argue them out of it because their thinking is very focused on that. And so it's not a time to get in an argument, it's a time to help them feel better. Encourage the person to see a professional. The person doesn't believe that they're going to feel better, so you're going to have to do more work than they are because in their mind this is a great solution. Help them find somebody who's knowledgeable. In an acute crisis, take away anything that they could use to hurt themselves. Contact an emergency person on their safety plan. Go to either a mental health facility or your local emergency room. It will not be a great experience. I can pretty much, I can't say, if it's not a great experience, at least you're in a safe place. And that's the goal, is getting through that suicidal crisis. So, and then follow-up treatment is really important. People always say, I feel better now, I don't need that. But if you don't have a plan for taking care of yourself, it will come back. And many people who end up in the emergency room end up back there 2 months later. So, takeaway messages. People with CPRS do not choose their pain. People with depression don't choose their depression. It happens. Pain is depressing, but suicide is not the only option. Most people who have pain do not kill themselves, which is a good thing. It's relatively rare. And mental health treatment can make a difference because the clinician knows and has their own toolkit of how to help you. Remember the basics. Have your toolkit. Develop and share a safety plan. And develop your entourage. We do know that people don't just kill themselves out of the blue. We do know that 90% of people do have some kind of treatable health problem.
Dr. Harkavy will be here all day, so you have an opportunity, and if you want to talk to Lee.